It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
All right, SKOR North Twins Show. Hello, everyone. Declan Goff here. Figured we'd do a little bit of a prospect update. Haven't had one of these in a few weeks. So if you are looking for Twins news, if you're looking for prospect news specifically, you can subscribe to this channel right here, the SKOR North Twins Show. Cover the team in a podcasting form. Recording this on a Wednesday afternoon. Obviously, the Twins trying to get in a few more games with Seattle. It's been a rainy morning and afternoon in the Twin Cities, so we'll wait and see kind of what happens there. But figured regardless, I'd jump on here for a little bit of a prospect update as I haven't done that in a while. Plus, tomorrow on the SKOR North Twins Show, I'll have kind of the latest from what I've gleaned from the clubhouse, just talking to some people around there, plus just latest Twins news, trade rumors, all sorts of things, plus a random Twin of the Week. So we'll touch on that tomorrow with Mackie and Judd. But here on this episode, let's talk some prospects, something I've been doing a little bit more on this channel and on the podcast feed. So let's jump right into stuff here. So currently, Twins top prospect. We'll just kind of start from our top and work our way bottom, plus some updates to some other guys as well that might not be on the top 30 list or on a lot of other people's lists. So figured I'd update you guys here. Let's start, though, with Walker Jenkins, the Twins top prospect, who missed about 2 months. He just played in a couple games, then missed a bunch of time with some injury, with an ankle injury, and now is back after doing some rehab and rookie ball, making his way up, now back at Double-A, and is settling in here with the Wichita Wind Surge. So far on the season for Walker Jenkins, slashing just 232, 377, 304. Obviously, not a lot of slug. Batting average is a little down, but is drawing a boatload of walks. He's not chasing pitches. He's, again, I think just still kind of settling in here. He's really only he's only played in 17 games. He is stealing a lot of bases, which I find super interesting and encouraging. A lot of Twins prospects here that we'll touch on have some speed to their game, which, as we know, the Twins don't really lack that at the big league level. Now, it's very common for prospects to kind of abandon that speed, or abandon being advantageous on the bases. That is, like stealing a lot of bags. That's sometimes not super translatable from the minor leagues to the major leagues. We've seen that with, I know now Byron Buxton stealing a little bit more, but he's never really been the huge base running threat that I think we expected when he was first a prospect. Royce Lewis was once a super speedster that stole also a lot of bases, that also kind of had to abandon that due to some of the injury stuff. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, Jenkins is their top prospect in the system. He's, depending on where you look at, one of the 10 to 15 best prospects in all of baseball. But I'm glad he's healthy. He's 20 years old, so he is still super young, super raw. Even with the offense struggling at times, I know the pitching's been the biggest culprit, but even with the Twins offense struggling, I'd be shocked if you saw Walker Jenkins in a Twins uniform by the end of this. Now, things continue to spiral out of control, and we have September call-ups, and they want to get a look-see. Okay, that path does exist, but I think from where he started with the injury and how maybe just cautious they want to be with their top prospect, I'd probably put that on more of the surprise scale if you saw Walker Jenkins. But regardless, a healthy guy here that I know sounds like a broken record for Twins fans, but if this guy stays healthy, cornerstone potential player, plays some center field, plays outfield, he's a super raw athlete. 5th overall pick in 2 drafts ago, the MLB draft coming up here. So good to see him healthy, and hopefully we see him in a Twins uniform at some point. Emmanuel Rodriguez has been on the shelf for about almost a month now. Now he is back doing some rehab at the rookie ball level. Should return to the Saints in the coming days. He's only played in about 3 games on the rookie side of things, but still kind of, again, trying to figure out where this guy fits in at the big league level. A very unique skill set where he draws walks, he has power, doesn't really hit for average necessarily, but a very interesting, of almost the 3 true outcome kind of swings skill set, that is, excuse me. But he's back in rookie ball. I think it was a hip injury he dealt with, so he did miss almost a month now in rookie ball, and will eventually work his way back with the St. Paul Saints. But the Twins' number 2 prospect, Again, from other publications, you're talking about a dude that's somewhere between the 50th and 20th best prospect in all of baseball. But when he is healthy, I could see a path where he is with the Twins at some point at the end of the year. But 22 years old, left-hander, maybe a guy eventually they do believe in one day, but just talking to some people that have watched him more closely than I have, it's still a bit of, not a long shot of being a big leaguer, but just not ready to be a big leaguer quite yet. So glad that he's healthy and glad that he's coming up. We'll continue down the injured prospect trail. Luke Keaschall, who's technically with the big club. He had the compound fracture, got off to this awesome, quick little start with the Twins before breaking his arm. He's taken ground balls. No real update timeline, though, on when he's ready to come back. I think you can kind of read between the lines there and just understand that probably it's after All-Star break, and he'll likely go on a rehab assignment. The Twins could use, he was such a spark plug for them in that lineup, and he provides something that the Twins don't have, which is speed. And once he's able to go there, it's a broken bone. He's 22 years old, so those bones are hopefully healing fast, but he is taking ground balls, I think swinging off a tee, just doing a little bit here and there before he's probably ready to go on a rehab assignment, return to the Twins. Again, I would guess that's post-All-Star break, so maybe back in the Twins uniform about a month from now. All right, Kaylin Cano Pepper, guy I think I've probably talked about the most when I do these prospect updates. So he was finally promoted to Wichita from high A to double A last weekend. Hit a big home run yesterday, his first home run at the double A level. The Twins' first-round pick from last year's draft. He's the fourth organizational prospect, just outside the top 100. Sometimes I don't know how all the sausage is made. I'd be pretty surprised if he's not a top 100 prospect by the end of this season or going into 2026. He's looked really good, man. And when you're one of the top 20 to 21 picks in a draft, and even though at first he may not have been like your first number one prospect, he's having great numbers here between high A and double A, just between the two stops, an 865 OPS, hitting for power, stealing some bases too. Again, 15 stolen bases, spends time at short and third base. Again, where does he fit long term with the Twins? Because Correa and Royce Lewis Brooks Lee kind of occupy those three positions. You don't know. If the Twins were buyers at the trade deadline, which hopefully they were tracking to be, Cano Pepper could have been one that's probably comes up in selling talks. If you were to sell off a prospect, I would assume a lot of teams would be interested in Kaylin Cano Pepper. But now with the Twins, kind of going down the tube a little bit, Cano Pepper could be someone that they just stash, and they should. But really interesting one here. If he continues it, does he end up in AAA at this year? We'll see. I'm just glad, after about 2.5, 3 months of raking at high A in Cedar Rapids, he gets the deserving call up to double A, and we'll continue to watch him. A few other ones here. We've only talked about some hitters so far. Connor Prelip, who's the lefty pitcher for them so far this year, he's also in Wichita this year. 9 starts, got a 2.7 ERA. They only let them go about 4 innings at a time there in the minors. They don't let them just buck for 6 or 7 innings. But so far, he's been nasty when he's on the mound. 41 strikeouts and 23 innings pitched. Opponents are hitting just 173 against him. For a guy that did miss a lot of time, this is someone I know that they want to be cautious with. He was the 48th overall pick 3 drafts ago, but has only made 22 starts in the big leagues. So they really want to make sure that they're, in a good spot with him. But a lefty prospect that, a pitching prospect that they don't have, a lot of successful left-handed starters. Danny Coulomb is a guy that they acquired from Baltimore. They haven't had I'm trying to think here. They haven't had a homegrown lefty starter. Man, I really have to rack my brain. Maybe some of the YouTube comments section can help me out here. But one that they've really cultivated and developed. It's been a while. So an encouraging arm to watch, I bet they want to limit his innings. Maybe he falls into AAA at some point towards the end of the year, but they probably want to be very cautious with him, and honestly, rightfully so. Marco Raya, who was once upon a time the Twins' top pitching prospect, the Twins' now 6th organizational prospect. He's had, some struggles at AAA, but you can see why his stuff is very encouraging still, and why you really wouldn't want to give up on it. He had one of the best starts of the season, if not one of his career yesterday. Had a bunch of strikeouts, an 86% whiff percentage on his curveball. I think at the end of the day, you will see him with the Twins at some point. I think he profiles better as a nasty reliever, but it's hard to say that or give that absolutely proclamation when he's still 22 years old. That's the crazy thing. He was once their top pitching prospect. He has made 79 appearances in the minors, and up until this year, especially, which has been from the ERA side, like it's over 7, but the stuff is really there, and they're certainly not ready to give up on him as a starter. But if he puts things together mentally a little bit better, I think you're talking about a really good, a really intriguing arm, whether that's in the bullpen or in the starting rotation for the Twins. A few other, CJ Culpepper, the other artist formerly known as Culpepper in the Twins prospect system. He missed the first few months of the year, but after being built up a little bit, he's now in Wichita. He had a really solid start. I think he's due on the mound actually today or in the coming days. He made his last start on June 20th, but struck out 6 over 3 2/3. Big build. He's got this crazy long blonde hair too. 6'3", 193 pounds, and I think that's honestly sounding a little short. He's a big cat. The Twins' 10th overall pitching prospect, and someone that, again, I think, as he develops, we'll see where he goes. He is 23 years old, so kind of in that normal range to be in Double-A. Someone to watch if he stays healthy this year. Where does he slot in? Does he get an invite to spring training next year? We'll see. But yeah, a righty that I think is going to be really interesting to see develop. Let's see here. I think someone in the YouTube comment section helped me out. Doug says, was it Brian Dunsing? It might have been. Might have been Brian Dunsing. I think Scott Diamond was a lefty, but Scotty Diamond was like an indie ball guy that they signed and was a miraculous story that rose through the ranks. Yeah, been a long time. There's probably someone we're missing, obviously, but you haven't seen them develop many left-handed starting pitchers that have been successful, that is. A few other names here. And by the way, if you haven't already, appreciate you guys if you hit the like button and subscribe button. We have added, even though the Twins have made us upset and they aren't playing great baseball, this last 48 hours this week on the YouTube channel has been really, really cool to see everyone hit the like and subscribe button. So thank you so much for everyone that does that. There's some Twin podcasts out there, obviously, so appreciate you guys supporting this one. If you support all of them also, that's great too. But here's the SKOR North Twins Show, prospect updates, notes from the clubhouse, latest rumors, breaking news. We covered all here on the SKOR North Twins Show. A few other ones. So Kyle DeBarge was someone I think I talked about a lot at the beginning of the year because he got off to a great start with Cedar Ray. And he's a shortstop. He's kind of smaller and plunkier. He's 5'9", 175 pounds. Steals a bunch of bags. He already is up to 40 stolen bases this year in 63 games, which is nuts. So, we talk about speed being a weakness for the Twins. He is someone that brings a lot of speed. But after a really hot start, he's kind of cooled off a little bit at the plate. He's hitting just 185 in his last 30 games. Again, when he gets on, he can provide some nice speed and a nice little bump there. But someone that probably, who is right now the 12th best prospect, a long ways out from being in the big leagues. But anytime I see guys that are swiping that many bags, I find it super interesting. I always like the speedsters. Let's talk about Aaron Sabato because he's on the thumbnail, for God's sakes. Haven't talked about him yet. I've kind of been running through some of the top 15, 20 prospects. So Aaron Sabato, if you don't remember, he was the Twins' first-round pick in 2020, 5 years ago. He was a stud, I believe, out of UNC. Taken a little older because he played a lot of college ball, turned 26 now a couple years ago, and really struggled, honestly, since he was drafted. In 2021, hit 202, 22 hit 215. The power was always there. 19 home runs, 22 home runs, but hit under the Mendoza line, was a 199 hitter last year. And to be honest, at that point, you're kind of worried about are organizationally, are you going to punt on that? Are you going to eventually get that guy not even in your organization? Do you expose him? And he hasn't been on the 40-man, so, Do you expose him to the Rule 5 draft? And the Twins, he's stuck with the Twins. The Twins haven't given up on him. And in 2025, he is finally putting things together. At Double-A, which I believe now he's like the all-time leader in home runs down in Wichita, he crushed pitching in Double-A. Now he's older again, like he's older than the competition he's facing, and he's seen a lot of pitches in Double-A, so it's very natural for someone to eventually figure that stuff out. But he hit 9 home runs this year, had a 973 OPS at Double-A, gets promoted to the Saints, it just continues to hit, man. Has already hit 2 home runs in 10 games with the Saints, hitting 333, 943 OPS. I mean, at this point, like, could he be just maybe a quad A guy? Like we've seen that from Mickey Gasper. He tore up pitching with the Saints. He's torn up minor league pitching with the Red Sox and Yankees, but doesn't really crack in the big leagues. Do you give Aaron Sabato a shot? I think I would. The pitching hasn't been up to snuff with the Twins at the big league level. We're watching that unfold since the Pablo injury, and Zebby Matthews is getting closer, I guess, to making a return, or at least starting a return to a rehab assignment. But I would not sleep on Aaron Sabato eventually coming up here. Are they married to Ty France long term? Like, trade deadline's about 5 weeks away. If they were to trade Ty France, do you bring up Aaron Sabato? Late bloomers like this, it's late bloomer at 26 who hasn't even sniffed the big leagues. That's a little different, and the odds are still against him of being a productive major league hitter. But I'm encouraged by it. I would give him a shot. If you're significantly under 500 and you need offense in the worst way, why wouldn't you give it this guy a chance? And even though he might have fallen out of the pecking order, he's not one of your top 30 prospects. You decided, 5 years ago with pretty much the same regime, at least Derek Falvey, as the president of baseball operations, right? You decided to draft this guy as one of the 30 best dudes in the draft. He's the 27th overall pick. So I would 100% try to give him a shot. From that draft too, like Jordan Westberg with Baltimore, he was taking a couple picks later. It hasn't really been a great depth draft. Spencer Torkelson was the top pick in that draft, and now he finally put it together. Local kid, Max Meyer, having hip surgery. He's out for the year. He was a 3rd overall pick there. Garrett Crochet from the White Sox, who's now tearing it up with the Red Sox. He was in that draft, drafted 11th. And of course, Pete Crow Armstrong. I shouldn't sell Pete Crow Armstrong. He's been awesome for the Cubs this year. He actually was traded from the Mets there. But, yeah, Sabato, I give him a shot. I mean, why not? I'm not saying call him up tomorrow. He's going to spend some time in AAA. But if you're to trade Ty France, if you give up on him, I'd 100% give Aaron Sabato a look. Shouldn't hurt at all. A few other notes here on this prospect episode. So I needed to find the pronunciation on this, and I found it on YouTube, and I think I'm doing it right. So in the Twin system, they have a catcher at high A. He's the 29th prospect in the system. But again, just looking at numbers and looking at where some of these guys are taken, Kadeem Jah, who is a catching prospect at high A, was the 3rd-round pick in last year's draft. This is a guy I think that'll probably, again, shoot up the organizational rankings by the end of 2025 into 26. So this year at high A, in 38 games and 886 OPS, the dude's a great hitter, 302, a 455 on-base percentage. So from a catching side, that's really impressive. Obviously, catchers naturally have kind of a decent eye at the plate of what's a strike and what's not, but a 455 on-base percentage, a guy that was drafted in one of the first 3 rounds. Kadeem Jah is someone that I think will 100% shoot up the rankings there, and we'll see where he falls in next year. One more note here, because yesterday for the Saints, Pearson Ole, a 14th round pick in 2021. He made his Saints debut. He threw 4 shutout innings, tons of weak contact. Shout out to Sean Aronson, my former boss and friend. He was saying on the broadcast that he allowed just 72.7 average exit velocity during his start. Twins continue to lose pitchers. That's going to be a guy, too, that they're going to have to call on, like Andrew Morris is on the shelf. Corey Lewis is certainly not all there. So could the Twins obviously use another arm? They absolutely could. Seen a comment here from Peter who says, I want to know how the knuckleball pitchers are doing. So that's Corey Lewis. Corey is kind of like their swing man. Like he's made some starts for them. He's also come out of the bullpen. From what I have been told, even though the knuckleball is like impressive and it's fast, it's like it's 87 mile an hour knuckleball, the secondary pitching needs significant work before you see him, I think, in the big leagues. So I know that was kind of a cool story in spring training, and we'll see. Maybe he figures things out. They're kind of a dying breed, knuckleballers are, but I'd like to see him, give a shot. One more here, Gabriel Gonzalez from the Polanco trade. Still continues. He got promoted after his nice start at Cedar Rapids. Continues to hit at Wichita. He's the Twins' 17th prospect. Hit 360. He's hitting 364. He has an OPS over 900. I think he was a fringe top 10 prospect last season, and then had a rough year in the Twins system, but has now bounced right back. He is 21 years old, so he might be able to salvage that Jorge Polanco trade, which brought back Justin Topa. Polanco's cooled off. He had a great start to the Mariners this year, but has kind of cooled off in the last month or so. But might be able to at least at some point salvage that trade. Peter, I'm seeing your comment here. Devin Kirby is the guy you're talking about. So he's with the Mighty Muscles. I can see from his profile photo he definitely holds a knuckleball. This season, 27 strikeouts and 25 innings, whip of almost 2. I have not heard much of this guy. I'll dig a little deeper, see what I can figure out for you, but another knuckleballer in the system. He's in regular A right now. So, but Devin Kirby, though, is he in Baltimore's system? I'm literally Googling all this on the fly. So Kirby is in the Baltimore system. So now with Fort Myers, but was with Baltimore. No, he's with the Twins that went to Baltimore. But yeah, a lot of prospects. You see, I'm learning everything new every day. But appreciate you guys hanging out, listening, watching. Any other information you guys want on prospects, certainly let me know. We'll gladly dig a little bit deeper. At one point, I thought the Twins were going to be buyers at the deadline, and could they move some of these prospects? Now, kind of feels like if they can sell off, some of those rental pieces like Bader and Coulomb, Ty France, we just mentioned, like you're not going to get an earth-shattering prospect deal. Like, could you snag an organization's 20th best prospect? Maybe. That'd be nice. But it's going to be hard to do that. The only one that I think they could legitimately trade and get a sizable return would be Duran. And I know he blew an opportunity to keep the Twins in the game yesterday and has struggled a bit as of late. But teams always overpay for bullpen arms. People know who he is. He's a flamethrower. He's still one of the more respected closers and relievers in the game. That's someone that you're looking at, a top 10 prospect, maybe a couple of them, for a desperate team with Duran still under control. That'd be the one that you can probably move the deadline. We'll see if they actually do that. But tomorrow on Twins Show, we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that and the latest news from the clubhouse. Again, we'll see what happens with the Twins tonight against Seattle, and we'll hopefully be able to figure out if they can do that. One more comment for the road here. Armand says, Mets fan here, would the Twins trade Willie Castro? Yeah, he's an expiring guy. Rocco loves him. I know that. But I think they could trade him. Now, what can you get for him? Again, switch hitter, and having a nice year, an all-star year last year, so maybe a little bit more than someone like Danny Coulomb or Ty France. But, I can see Willie being traded. And if he's an expiring guy and someone calls you with the right deal, why wouldn't you do that? Plus, it kind of clears up some spots long-term for some other players. All right, guys, appreciate you hanging out with me for like 25 minutes here on the SKOR North Twins Show. Hit the like button and subscribe button if you haven't already. Give us a 5-star rating on the Apple and Spotify side. Appreciate you guys, and we'll be talking at you soon.